Steve, episode 18 of the Broadway block. Rough one for the Rangers. Back-to-back shutout losses to the Islanders. They really shut us down for our playoffs hope this year. Did you see anything you liked in the game? And tell me what you didn't like.
It's tough, man. There wasn't a lot to report home about. We got our opportunities, both in the playoffs or on the faceoffs rather, and on the power play, and weren't able to capitalize. Josh Bailey had himself a time, 4 assists in those 2 games. It's
Beauvillier.
tough because, yep, Beauvillier and Barzell. It's tough to really put your finger on anything that was spot on. I mean, there was showings of fighting, but then it would almost like the wind was taken out of their sails after a goal, and they scored early, which you know
They're pretty
certainly
known
put
for that.
and they're a team it's tough to get offense going against them anyway. It's a little bit more sad if you look around the league that our 58 points would be good for 3rd place in the North Division, be good for 4th place in the West, and we would be tied in the Central for 4th place with Nashville. So it's tougher knowing that ahead of the season, that we sort of knew that this was going to be one of the storylines. I also looked at Oliver Wahlstrom scores on us in the power play with 17 points to his rookie season. So he was someone who's selected 2 slots behind Vitaly Kravtsov. So a couple little daggers. For Alamov, I mean, he's had now 4 shutouts against us. So it's tough knowing that a team like this is a team that we're struggling to have any offensive prowess against. They limited Artemi Panarin to 4 scoring chances in the last 4 games, which is crazy if you
That's what they
consider
got to do.
Panarin. So they must have learned something from last season, because Panarin really had their number. So they've definitely focused hard on him and the rest of the guys. I mean, you had mentioned Kevin Rooney was nice to jump from some of those guys, but not much to write home about, man. And then the worst thing is it sort of takes the wind out of your sails for the playoff hopes. So it's almost all but mathematical at this point. The Bruins need to win one more game to make it so. So we'd have to win 100%. They'd have to win 50 or go on 0-5. So
Yep, I think we got the Capitals today. Some good things was after that first shutout loss with Igor and net, we brought up some Morgan Barron, 6'4" Morgan Barron. That was fun to see him. Tarmo Ranunen, we brought back up for a game. Bad points was Lindgren got hurt. They really didn't disclose what happened to him, but he got kind of caught up on the boards on a hit. And he's a Warrior, so it kind of has to be bad if they haven't said what it was or he's back. Howden done for the year with a broken foot as well, so that was not cool. Barzell got the empty netter to break his streak in the first game, and he scored in the second one. Like you mentioned, they were getting a lot of production from everybody. Everybody was. I don't want to say that they should have gotten the McDonald Award for extra hustle against us, but every play was them out hustling us. Like you mentioned, I did mention Rooney was a good point. He was hustling hard, trying to get shots off. But other than that, everybody looked flat. And when you play the Islanders and you get down by 1 in the first period, it's a real hard mountain to climb back up for them. Varlamov is still on his shutout streak. He's setting records for himself over there. So good for the Islanders to come into the playoff race. Bad for the Rangers. But again, like we've mentioned in previous podcasts before, that we're really not supposed to be there yet. It's kind of fun seeing all these young guys get up here and get the experience. Negative point is that because of COVID, they don't get the full 82 game schedule. So that stinks, but like exposing a lot of people out there. Who do you got in net tonight? Do you think they put Igor back out?
yeah, I mean, I don't think that I don't think that you can really blame the goaltender for. I mean, it was in general, again, I don't even want to say a lack of effort because I watched it back, some of the highlights this morning, and it was um, a little bit of like a bad communication. There was a pass that went errant along the boards, just a little bit of pressure from their defenseman, and Mayfield comes dashing up the line with it. And there's not much you can do with plays like that. It's just you have to be alert and know the team that you're playing, and a team that likes to disrupt the neutral zone. And like we had mentioned, it's tough when a team is so good defensively because one goal can really put a dagger in you where maybe against another team or earlier in the season we would have had a stronger jump. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a 1-0 game for a long time in that game. So it's tough um, for a lot of reasons. It's tough that we've done well against this team before. Um, like you had said that we're not exactly supposed to be there, but these guys are coming off of being in the final four. So I mean, it's not a surprise that they're in the topic of where they are. But
You can talk what ifs all day. Like Kreider wasn't there. He, besides his play, like he's you know, an assistant captain in the locker room. Truba's not there. So we got lose another big voice in the locker room for that. And then like with the Lindgren in the second game not playing, but I got to think those two players not being available for the first game, really, those people, we go down 1-0, you see Jacob Trouba talking to people, Kreider getting people fired up. We didn't really have any of that.
no, and the problem is too that the topic of coaching for us has been brought up a lot. They're a team that's coached well and that can battle adversity. I think when Trotz got the job, there was a lot of people that immediately bought in rather. And it's tough when you're a team. I don't want to say that our team doesn't want to listen to Quinn, but it's tough to buy into the whole like it's the game's only 1-0. We got to go out and just get a goal. It's hard to buy into, when like you had mentioned when your veteran presence is sort of missing from the lineup because sometimes you rely as a coach at least on some of those guys to pipe up for you. So it's tough when you got a coach like Trotz who
Has
knows
been
what
there.
to say and yeah, has been in that situation. Um, I've heard a
Quinn's
lot of
still
talk
learning.
about who's next. Even though Quinn does have some time left on his contract, but we'll see if he's the man to continue the job moving forward. I think on the season, I feel like this almost feels like a season review, um, and less of like a game review because that game was sort of
Eye opening.
yeah, it was eye opening, but it's sort of not reflective of the whole year because there was a lot of good things to like about the way that this group came together for the better part of this year, at least since May 17th, or March 17th when we really kind of came together. So
It's hard to say. Like, I don't want to keep bringing the what ifs. Panarin didn't miss that time. Like, what if Quinn wasn't out and we had all that time together? I don't think Quinn's a bad coach. I think he's still learning as he goes. And, as you want to play the best guy out there sometimes, which he does on the power play, but, sometimes we fall flat on that. We don't get a lot of shots. Again, we keep bringing it up episode after episode. These face-off wins that we're not getting are really, really hurting us on the power play and just keeping it out of our zone. We're just not doing a good job of it.
yeah, and these guys, I mean, I- I'm not a Islanders fan by any means, but I think that they're going to do some damage. I think if you look at hockey, they give up a lot less chances than other teams in the league. Teams like the Penguins that are maybe okay with going tit for tat offensively. Teams like the Maple Leafs. So these guys could be a real problem. But I also feel like any team right now in the playoff hunt for the East Division could realistically win the cup, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Every team's
Um,
good. They right now, if the playoffs started, the Islanders would match up against the Caps, which they've actually played better hockey against than as opposed to the Pens or the Bruins. So that's good for them. But like you said, the East Division is very competitive. We're not playing over here in the North, and we're not playing over here in the Central Division. We had a lot of tough games, and it's a hard season because you play some of these lesser teams for 2 to 3 games, and then you come back and you have to play someone that's ready for playoff hockey, and then you fall flat. So it'll be interesting to see next year where we will be at and what we do in the off season.
Do you think there was some rumblings on Twitter at least about a left-handed defenseman being the priority? Do you think that we have enough prospects in the pipeline that you sort of just ride it out and let the guys come up? Or do you go out instead of a search on an offensive elite first line center?
Well, I think we definitely get a good offensive presence from Fox, and we really haven't seen the full potential of Zach Jones. Um, I think we do need to bring in a veteran presence on the defense for that, because we have so many young guys in there. You really need someone to have your back. But I think we'll have to see what happens with the expansion draft. I heard Seattle gave their last payment, and now they're officially the 32nd team in the league. So after we see what those chips fall, I think then we'll have a better understanding of where we're at with our players and who we need to bring in then.
I think too, it opens up an opportunity to maybe make a deal with a team like Seattle where maybe you pry loose somebody from another team that maybe we want, and maybe then we're willing to leave a guy like Strome on the table if maybe a Joel Edmondson or somebody can come your way that can fill that veteran gap. But I think to counter that point, I think we don't actually end up doing that, and we end up getting a center. But my whole thing was, imagine if we could have scored goals in those games. I mean, you can talk defensively all you want, but I think a team that is stubborn in the neutral zone like that, they're going to create their own offense from defense, and it's less of a defensive standpoint and more of a,
You're always on the offense.
if you're not in the neutral zone to begin with and you're sustaining pressure, but we'll see. Because I would love to see Panarin get to play with a real juggernaut of a center, and I'd also like to see us sort of build to our strengths right now, which is on the wing.
Why can't we do both? Why can't we get a centerman and a decent veteran defenseman?
Well, it's tough, right? Like they said, Smith's contract, they're like, why don't we just re-sign him? I think you and I talk about this a lot with like fantasy and things like that, but it's like, know when you're lucky. Like Smith wasn't, I don't think he's the guy.
He's been in the right place a lot at the right time. Like, I think he brings a lot of good. We're definitely like someone like, the Kraken or someone else that could use someone like that, but he also brings a lot of penalties. So
yeah, and interesting stat line that he has the most penalties drawn by any defenseman in the league. So there's a lot of like weird little things that Smith does to a lineup, and obviously his camaraderie in the locker room and things like that. But I would be hard pressed to see us get less gritty. I think that's going to be a need that we also address,
especially the young guys. I agree.
Especially to defend these young guys and to show them how we want to play. But the problem is I don't see him being what we truly need. And if that money comes off the books, I feel like that's an opportunity to sort of spread your wings a little bit. And I read somewhere that we're going to have about $18 million in cap space to be fucking around with.
Better than we've ever been in a while.
That's too much money to not try to
bring in
do something with it. And I know the comments are, we have to pay Laugh and we have to pay Kako and guys are going to be due.
Almost done on his beginning contract.
Buchnevich. There's going to be guys down the road that maybe you don't have the money for if you hand it out now. But I do truly think that we utilize the fact that some of these buyouts are going to be leaving and some of these bigger contracts like Smith's are going to be done for. And it makes it all the more likely that you do package a guy like Booch or like Strome that eats into another $3 or $4 million to get a guy like Eichel or maybe a Barkov. So That's
Well,
the direction I would like to see it go.
it's interesting to see someone similar. If you look at Toronto, they built up a lot of people, Matthews, some younger people, Nylander, everything like that. And now they're bringing in some veteran presence to help them I think they have three ex-captains of teams like Foligno, Thornton, and I forget the other person, but it'll be
Tavares.
Tavares, yeah. It'll be interesting to see how they do in the playoffs to see if we want to emulate not exactly what Toronto did with their building, but we'll see how far they get.
Well, I mean, if you look too, just to add to that point, I think that's a great point that when the Leafs were on the come up, newly minted draft picks, they were calling that team the cardio kids. These guys were just outworking teams by being young and hungry and establishing immediate chemistry with one another with Nylander and Marner and Matthews. I mean, in that draft. So I mean, if you can sort of establish the same thing where you have some kids that like to play with each other, they can out hustle teams. We already saw a little bit of that this year from Kako's work along the boards and Lafreniere being a fiend on the puck and getting to loose areas, and Heedle kind of starting to develop into the older man in front of our eyes. So I would be I would be thrilled if we had a guy that maybe mid-20s, not old, but old enough that they've been a vet in this league, like a Barkov or like a Eichel. I heard some talks about even a Dylan Larkin who would just be really an older kid to these guys. So
He's actually
it'd be
played a full
great.
season, so that's
Yeah, no,
that would be.
it'd be great to see these guys getting some chemistry with someone who can put them in a good position, and even for guys like Panarin that are so unique of a player that could really break somebody out. Like, we've seen great production from guys like Eichel, but we've never seen what Eichel can do putting on a line with a top 3 scorer in the league. I mean, that would just be really impressive to
Unheard of.
watch, I think so.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Another point is to bring up Panarin is that guy wants a cup. If you look at his history with he didn't actually win one with Chicago. I think that was on one of they won every other year. So I think when he was there, it was on one of their off years. Then he went to the Blue Jackets, didn't win with them. I think they farthest they went was the second round with him. So he wants that cup. So you're gonna have to also balance out. Panarin's not going to stay around forever to watch us rebuild and then go on and win after him. So we're going to also have to bring in somebody to, fire up the troops and keep Panarin happy too.
Panarin's like, we have a car that we like, but we bought a motorcycle just to like distract ourselves from this like rebuilding project of this car that we're never going to finish. It's like we're in getting him, we're immediately a better team, but almost like it's a 6-year distraction so that you don't pay attention to how bad that
Yeah,
team actual is.
whoa, that's a really nice motorcycle. Why you take 8 years to build the car?
Yeah, yeah, and he's so likable and so well liked by the team that, like, yes, he does add that chemistry to a team. I think he makes the players around him better by a long stretch, but it's almost a distraction in that we're using that, I think, a little bit to just kind of like pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, because there's a lot of stuff happening. There's a lot of reasons to be excited, and like you said, he's not going to be here forever.
Yeah, how long
So,
does he wants a cup? Like I don't blame
dude,
him. Like
if I'm honest, does Panarin ever win a cup in a Rangers sweater? I mean, that's a valid question. The thing is, he's produced now at a clip that is unprecedented in a Rangers uniform. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that would like
love
to
to
see
see.
him. Yeah, but realistically, we got 5 more years of the bread man, and
And here's the thing, he chose us over the Islanders.
he
So you
did.
gotta
And
you gotta think of like does he regret that now, not going over there? And
who knows? Who's to say, like, in 5 years when his $10 million falls off the books, that could be great for us. I mean, I'm not saying that I want to see him go by any stretch, but imagine 5 years from now when we almost forget that this guy's on the hook for, an eighth of our salary cap. So
Yeah.
A lot of exciting things moving forward. It's almost sad to see the season go because we did put on a
We were
good.
so close. I just wanted it so bad, but
And another thing, man, this is an 82 game season. This could just be a bump in the road for us. This could just be enough of a thing to kind of get us like motivated again, where we're still not out of the playoff race. But now with 5 games left, we're at a point where we have to win all of them and we have to hope the Bruins win none of them. So this could just be
I
another
don't think
thing.
it's possible for that, but I also think it's a good point that this will give us the hunger next year that we're not going to come out and not give the extra effort against the Islanders. Like we might have to go see them play in the playoffs and watch them from the couch to be like, that's not going to happen next year. Like we're not going to play shitty, not hustling hockey in the neutral zone. Like, you know, we're going to have to score first. Like this might be exactly what we need to fire us up.
And all the points lost in overtime and all the points lost with goals that happened in the last minute of the game.
Ugh,
So yeah, if you want to play what ifs, I mean, I hope this does really wake them up. But let's
fire
go
somebody
Rangers.
over.
Let's hope for a Rangers win, at least for something fun to watch tonight.
Yep. All right, Steve. Thank you. That does it for episode 18. And let's go Rangers.
All right, brother.
Talk to you later.